Show on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by the new and improved Boyle Sports Bet Builder. Now with 44 markets to choose from on every match.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should there be an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Oh.
Now then, very happy to say we are joined by Mr. John Giles. You're there, John?
I am, yeah.
You're stuck with me this evening, sorry.
Who's that?
Joe.
Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, very well.
Good.
So, I was out last night and I didn't see this Leeds derby game, but it's the talk of the office. Bonkers was the general word from the lads. What did you make of it?
Well, Derby deserved to win. Leeds had terrible goalkeeper. He was a bag of nerves, Joe. And you weren't on the show. There's a lack of discipline also about Leeds. I'm sorry to say, Joe. The first goal was a terrible goal, mixed up with the goalkeeper. It was goalkeeper's fault with Cooper. Cooper was sent off later on in the game. He wasn't. Cooper gave a silly penalty away. Berardi was sent off. So. I watched Leeds against Derby about 2 months ago. Leeds beat them, but I think I was on with Nathan, and I just found a lack of discipline in the Leeds. Even from corner kicks, they're pulling and pushing and shoving. And even on the Derby match at that time, the goalkeeper wasn't this goalkeeper; it was another goalkeeper. Got across. Derby player was near him, Joe, when he was in the air. But as he was falling, he put his foot out and kicked him.
Right.
And look, the referee had assumed that, he turned his back on it because the goalkeepers had the ball in his hands. But that type of stuff, it was really, really bad. And it caught them up. It caught up on them last night, in my opinion.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And when you talk about that lack of discipline, this is obviously very different to a team having a bit of fighting and maybe a bit of cynicism in them. This is kind of a more cheaper version of that almost.
Oh, totally wrong. It goes back to Bielsa. Bielsa's the manager, and in my opinion, it caught up on them in a big way last night. I didn't see that much. I've seen him a couple of times, but that match against Derby, particularly about 2 months ago, Joe. I just thought. I remember speaking to Eddie Gray about it, and Eddie said, "Yeah, there is a they like pulling and pushing from corner kicks and free kicks." You didn't see the match, but there was a penalty incident where the ball was played down by the side of this lad Cooper. And the forward just turned on it, and he grabbed him.
Right. And
the referee, looking at him, gives a penalty kick away.
Kind of brainless stuff.
Oh, totally, Joe. Yeah.
Because I presume there are times where you want a little bit of pulling and dragging in a clever way.
Well, you've got to be very clever, though. Because the referee was about 10 yards away from the incident last night. But if you're in the habit of doing those things, Joe, and you haven't been pulled up, especially this last match of the season, as it were, then, it catches up on you somewhere.
And what have you made of the job Bielsa's done generally?
I think he's done well, Joe. I mean, he hasn't spent any money. Not really. And to get them where they are. They'd obviously need a couple of players. But I think overall he's done a very good job with them.
Because with 4 games of the regular season to go, they were in the driving seat. They seem to have fallen away at just the wrong time.
Well, it caught up on them, Joe. There's no doubt about that. They were looking very, very good, but they didn't really have anybody up front. Joe. Right. They didn't have a striker that you could depend on to get them out of trouble there when they needed, really needed it badly.
Right.
So I think they were lacking up front,
And by all accounts as well, Richard Keogh seemed to have a pretty big influence. He seemed to have a good game.
Yeah, I think it's a huge influence on that team. He's one of those lads, he's good, honest, bro. Always gives you his best, and very honest in what he does. So I'd say he's a leader in that team, there's no doubt about it. And Yeah, he's just a good type of lad.
Yeah, because he was their player of the year, which is always a good sign when, the other players kind of chip in and gives him player of the year. And also, he's kind of the road less travelled as well. He had to go to Iceland to get his career kind of up and moving again after he first went over to England, and he's kind of worked his way back now, and he said himself desperate to get into the Premier League, and that'd be an amazing success story for him personally if he could do it.
Oh, definitely. But you find with lads, Joe, that have to work hard to do it, appreciate it when they get there. And they wouldn't get there without the hard work. You'd have to say he's a limited amount of ability, but that's ability is only part of the game. But having the will to do it is a huge thing. And lads that have to struggle a bit to get there, as he has done, I think, appreciate it and really, really make the most of it, of their career when they're in that position. And it's great for him. He's a really, really good lad. He's as honest as day is long when he's playing. And that's why he's captain and a leader in the team.
What kind of stamp is Frank Lampard putting on Derby then?
I think he's done really well. First season, Joe, he hasn't got money to buy players either. I think he's got a couple of loan players. And all you can do as manager is make the best of what you have at your disposal, and he's certainly done that. He's done really well. He's played good football. He's got the team really working hard. They're honest in what they do, as he was himself, Joe, as a player. Frank Lampard, I don't ever thought he was a really, really creative player or blessed with a great deal of ability. But he certainly made the most of it. He was a great goal scorer coming from midfield. And he's worked hard at it. He started at West Ham, as you probably know, Joe, and I think his dad was a coach there. And he had a very, very difficult time with the fans at West Ham.
Yeah.
Then he went to Chelsea. He'd obviously made his name there. So it didn't come easy for him in the position that he was in, which again is always a good sign of somebody making the best of what they have and being in the position that they're in, and Derby are in. I think he's done a really top-class job so far.
Yeah, plenty of work ethic. So,
and an honesty about them, Joe. I'm talking about Leeds last night, where there was this discipline. There was nothing about that in the Derby team. He brought this lad Marriott, I think, on, scored 2 goals, and the big difference as well. He had a goalkeeper, Ruse, I think his name is. Joe, was very, very good. In contrast to the Leeds goalkeeper, who was really, really awful last night, and the lack of discipline in the team. There was no lack of discipline in the Derby team. They were very good. Right.
I know you caught a bit of Villa West Brom in the other game. I think Conor Hourihane started that second leg. He scored that brilliant goal in the first leg. What do you make of Hourihane, John? You featured for Ireland, obviously, in the Gibraltar and Georgia games.
Yeah, he's neat and tidy.
Yeah.
I would expect more of him on the ball as a midfield player. He gets it from A to B, but there's nothing really creative about it. Right. So he's useful in that sense. He's got a good shot on him. He'll get you a goal. He won't take control of the game. I think he's just a little bit conservative in his play and his passing. Now, he's only relatively new to it. He might improve on that. But I think he should look a little bit more. He's got a good left foot. He can deliver it well. And I'd like to see him just looking a bit more from his passing.
And last word on all this then. So Derby, Aston Villa, whoever comes out on top there. What did you make of the general standard of the games with a view to surviving in the Premier League next year?
I think it'll be difficult, Joe. The teams that I've seen, when say Villa get promoted, they look the best of the team so far. I think I would fancy them to beat Derby, but I wouldn't be putting a lot of money on it. They've come with a really good run. Villa have, but you wouldn't say, well, they're absolutely outstanding. The best team to go up recent times has been Wolves. When you saw them play in the Championship, Joe, you could say, well, these guys have good players and they'll be okay in the Premiership, which has proven to be the case. They've been very, very good. Yeah. I don't see that in Villa or Derby or Leeds or West Brom, who are in the latter stages of the Championship.
Today, of course, is the 16th of May. So not to bring back bad memories, but the lads were just mentioning, it's the anniversary of that 1973 European Cup Winners' Cup final, Leeds AC Milan over in Greece. I know you were injured for this game.
Yeah.
I hadn't fully appreciated, actually, just until I started having a look at the controversy over the referee Christos Mikas. I mean, you always kind of hear about dodgy refs back in the day, but I don't know, I just thought a European Cup Winners' Cup final might be immune from it. So it seems he had a pretty appalling game, and later on, UEFA investigated him, and not over this particular match, but he was banned due to match fixing.
Yeah.
And it seems he had an absolute stinker in this match, and Milan got more than their fair share. That's a dreadful thing to hang over a final.
Yeah, well, we had it in that, Joe. I didn't play, as you say.
Yeah.
We had it in the Champions League Cup final as well against Bayern Munich, to be quite honest. That was a very controversial situation.
Was it as well in 75, yeah?
Yeah. But in 73, actually, I think Billy was suspended. You know, we were up against in that particular match.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I had played in the Irish team. I got injured playing for Ireland when I came over. But I came in at the same time as the Italian team coming in, AC Milan coming in. And it just struck me on, even at that, they looked very relaxed, Joe, about everything. They were having a good laugh and a good joke and that. But they were certainly relaxed going into it, you know. It's hard to know, but the referee had a nightmare on the day. There's no doubt about that.
And where were you watching, in the stands, or?
I was in the stands, yeah. I was in the stands watching it, you know. It was it's very difficult to know, you know. But as you say, the referee was up in front of the committee later on. Was that? I thought he never refereed again, Joe. That fella.
I don't know if he ever refereed again after that match, but certainly at some stage during his career, he was banned for life for match fixing.
Yeah.
So he was up to no good.
No. Well, he certainly didn't do us any good, Joe. Let's put it that way.
Because I was reading, even like the neutral Greek fans. The match was obviously over in Greece, and you had a lot of local fans there. Even they were kind of booing him and recognised that something was a bit iffy. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do. I remember it well. It was. See, it's very hard to make a case for it, Joe. You know, because people say, "Well, it's sour grapes. You were beaten." It definitely looked odd. You know, when you're watching the match, some of the decisions that were made, you thought, "Well, that's a bit iffy, to say the least." But then again, you know, like referees can have a bad day. It's always difficult to know, Joe. But certainly his record afterwards would give some substance to the feeling, certainly from the Leeds fans and some of the Greek fans, as you say, that there was something odd going on there.
Because I was reading a Richard Corbett, who represented the kind of Yorkshire area in the European Parliament. About 10 years ago, he got 15,000 signatures for a petition to go into UEFA and have the whole thing overturned. But you're like, that's no good to anyone at this stage.
Yeah, it was a bit late in the day for that, Joe. I mean, you just look back at his memories and they certainly weren't doing Leeds any favours anyway, that's for sure.
Right. And in 75 against Bayern, see, I just looked at the kind of the broad terms here. So like Bayern are in the middle of getting their 3 in a row, and they have Beckenbauer in their pomp, and it was a 2-0 win. So I just sort of assumed that was, on the face of it all, pretty kosher. No,
I didn't think so, Joe. But there's one incident, if you ever see it, you know, in the old things, when Alan Clark beat Beckenbauer and was going through in a very, very good position. And to be quite honest, the only way Beckenbauer could get at the ball was to go through Alan Clark, which he did. Definite penalty. You ever see a definite penalty? Referee, corner kick.
Right.
Yeah, we felt there was something odd about it. He disallowed a goal in the second half. Peter Lorimer scored what looked like a very, very good goal in the second half in that particular game, you know.
I didn't realise that. I'll have a look back. I'm sure the video somewhere. And generally,
I don't look back at too much. That was my last match for Leeds, Joe.
Oh God, right, okay, great.
So it wasn't a very good finish.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's by the way.
Whatever about kind of European football, far-flung places maybe, and bribery or match fixing going on. Were you generally feeling like the referees in England were okay in that era?
Oh yeah. It was only abroad. Bulgaria used to be the worst place, Joe. I know I'm going on a bit here. When we had a terrible experience in Bulgaria. Actually, I was player manager, but I went over to see them before we played them. They were playing France in Bulgaria,
right?
And this was the time when France had a good team, very, very good team, and the referee, the French player was through, taken down, nothing short of penalty in all your life, and he waved play on. And then gave Bulgaria a dodgy free kick. Bulgaria finished up beating them on the day. I mean, Bulgaria never lost in Bulgaria for years, Joe. And when they did get to European Cup finals or World Cups, they didn't do anything at all. But we played there a couple of weeks later. And again, you might see it, the older times remember, we were 1 down. I scored a very good I scored a good goal.
Go on, it was a very good goal. Stop, come on.
But and that put us 1 up, and I think it disallowed. And I know, like on RTA, they showed it about 8 times to find out why it could have been possibly disallowed, and couldn't find anything.
Right.
And we finished up getting beaten there as well.
Right, that's dreadful.
In Bulgaria were noted for it. See, there wasn't as much coverage of matches in those days, Joe. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, of course. Well, even the going back to that AC Milan Leeds one in Greece, that wasn't on the TV that night. They showed highlights the next night, so you get away with more.
Oh, that's exactly. Like now, it's very difficult. Matches we see them all over the world now. Like Bulgarian match would have been shown on RTE. That particular match.
Yeah.
But around Europe, it wouldn't have been seen. So there wouldn't be as much emphasis on looking at the referees' decisions in those days. There's no doubt about that.
No, it's true, and it's very easy to spin it as sour grapes, and we were done by the referee, and of course you were, you know. That Bayern side, look, I appreciate what you're saying about maybe the ill feeling after the 75 Cup final, but that Bayern side with Beckenbauer 3 in a row European Cups, how good were they? Was they kind of right up there, best teams you played against?
Oh yeah. Well, Beckenbauer was one of the best players I ever played against, Joe. He played at the back. He played as a centre half. But he was like 3 players in one. He was quick. I remember somebody saying to me, "Why didn't you get closer to Beckenbauer?" Well, if you got too close to him, he'd just go past you, Joe. Right. So, like all great players, you have to give them that little bit of room. And he didn't need much room to distribute the ball. He was extremely quick. If you got too close to him, he'd go past it. And he was playing at the back. But he could step into midfield, Joe, and be a midfield player. Obviously, he wouldn't give the ball away. He'd knock a good long pass out to the left winger and be back into defence when he'd done his job. You know what I mean? He was like 3 players in one. He was a terrific player. And they had Müller up front, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. And they the top class. Well, you don't win the European Cup 3 times on the bounce without having really, really top class players.
Yeah.
They had them.
Breitner in midfield. Then would they have had Breitner at that stage, or is that
no?
No, that might have been
he didn't. They didn't have Breitner. No, they like I'd say Beckenbauer and Müller up front were the two really star players, along with a lot of very, very, very good players.
Yeah. And what kind of goals did Müller score? He was
a really in the box player. Joe.
Right.
You know, he's a small, stocky guy who was quick. A little bit like Aguero.
Right. A
little bit Aguero. He's shorter than Aguero, but he could read it really well. He was very quick, turn on the ball very quickly, and finish it really good. He wasn't outside the box much. You know, he wouldn't be. He was really, really in there, and he was deadly, absolutely deadly. I mean, his goal scoring record was phenomenal for Germany and for Bayern Munich.
Did you know that was your last game for Leeds when the whistle goes? Did you know kind of that's me done with Leeds now?
No.
Okay, that came as a surprise then.
Well, it wasn't such a bad. I played with Jimmy Armfield. Jimmy Armfield was the manager for that year, Joe, and I didn't get on very well with him. I played well in the Champions League match, but I asked him for an extra year's contract. He said he couldn't give me a year's contract, and I came back off the holiday, and he rang me. I'd only just got back that day, that morning, actually, the morning after I got back, to say that he'd agreed terms with West Brom.
Wow.
But he didn't want me to go. That was Jimmy. So
Right,
I'd had enough from that year, and
that was
it was the late Jimmy Anfield. He very sadly died there a while ago.
Yeah.
But that was it. I decided no, I've had enough of that.
Yeah, it's ruthless business. Always was, always will be. It seems.
Well, he was doing what considered was his job, which was fair enough.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with him. But anyway, that's that was why it was my last match for Leeds.
Yeah. Listen, we'll take a short break. I do want to, obviously, that's a hell of a tangent we've gone down on. We want to get your thoughts on Man City Liverpool. Back in 1 second with John Giles.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Boyle Sports. Now with same-day withdrawals to your Visa debit card.
Down to business.
This Saturday on Down to Business, a new book called Lab Rats tells us about being force-fed beer and pizza at tech companies as employee conditions deteriorate. I visit the iconic business, Hodges Figgis, where books have been sold in one form or another for over 250 years. And we talk to the CEO of the Curragh Racecourse, who's about to open a brand new facility. So that's Books, Rats and Horses, seen through a business prism, with me, Bobby Kerr, Saturday morning from 10.
Down to business.
Brought to you by Bank of Ireland.
On News Talk.
Oh, hello, love. I see you've turned our shed into a space station.
It's my research bunker.
Of course.
Where I track every price fluctuation and cross-reference geopolitical events to anticipate promotional offers.
Right, well, if we could just get the lawnmower.
And I'm close, Peter. I'm close to finding the way to save on car insurance.
But I've already done that. I went to 123.ie and saved 10%, no hassle at all.
Oh, I might get out of here then. I think the spiders have made a nest in my hair.
Simple is smarter. Get 10% off new car insurance when you buy online at 123.ie. Acceptance criteria, T's and C's apply. 123 Money Limited trading as 123.ie is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. RSA Insurance Ireland Act provides 123.ie car insurance.
When you're a small business, you always want to find the biggest savings. When it comes to your energy, that means going direct to Energia. Go direct to save more. Call 1850 363 744 or visit energia.ie/business. Energia, the power behind even bigger savings. Standard terms and conditions apply.
Mix and match your favourites this week at Dunnes Stores. Get any 4 bottles of Diet Coke and Coca-Cola Zero 2 litre or Coca-Cola 1.5 litre for €5. Pick up any Mars fun size range now half price. Save more with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. See online for terms and conditions. Minimum spend required.
We can't show you what a luxury midweek escape at Mount Juliet Estate looks like. So here's what it sounds like. Enjoy our luxury country estate, filled with long walks, outdoor adventure activities, relaxing spa treatments, golf and Michelin-star dining. To escape from the everyday with a luxury midweek break, book online today at mountjuliet.ie. Mount Juliet, a break's about to blossom.
It's mid-month mayhem at Appliances Delivered. And with up to 50% off, you can hardly blame me for getting a little revved up, now can you? Up to 15% off washing machines, up to 10% off TVs, up to 40% off refrigeration, and up to 10% off garden and DIY. Plus, check out the new technology range with everything you need to get your digital life up to spec. The mid-month mayhem sale is now on. Not to be missed. AppliancesDelivered.ie. Why pay more?
You know where to get the tastiest gourmet burger with zero pretension. You know the secret garden spot that no one has discovered yet. You know where best to see the sunrise and where to be when night comes. You adjust the settings of the digital cockpit display in your Seat Ateca SUV and realise you know this city inside out. It's your city, your Ateca.
Own your city with finance so low, there's zero to think about. SUV, Seat Urban Vehicles.
I survived war. I cultivated the earth to grow food and spoke up for my rights. I did it all on my own. But I can't do this alone.
Every 2 minutes, a woman dies during pregnancy or childbirth. Women like Jeb in Sierra Leone who don't get the healthcare they need. No child should grow up without a mother. You have the power to help this Christian Aid Week by donating online at caweek.ie. Christian Aid. We believe in life before death.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Now, welcome back. So we're still on the line with John Giles. John, Man City, Liverpool. I was saying to someone the other night on the show, we were wondering would there be a twist here. I suppose the twist was there was no twist.
Yes.
Man City just kept doing it. 14 wins in a row. In fairness, you just kind of have to hold your hands up and say that's quite extraordinary.
There's no doubt about it, Joe. Under pressure nearly all the time as well, because Liverpool, if we look back, played their game before City all the time to go in front. So City had to win. I mean, the draw was no good for them, as we know, on the run-in. So it was fantastic from both sides. I mean, for Liverpool to do what they did, I think they finished up with 97 points, Joe.
Yeah.
And didn't win it.
Yeah.
And City having to do what they did, it was absolutely brilliant. And it was great advert for the game. It was great for the game generally with what happened overall last week. With Company scoring early on. Then we had the Champions League matches, which were absolutely fantastic. And then at the end, for City to go and do what they did, as we know, they went a goal down, but won really, really well. They kept their nerve and won well in the finish. So it was a great advert for the Premier League, and absolutely brilliant stuff.
Do you know what was? I mean, it's probably not that important a point in some ways, but it's worth maybe just remarking on. You think of Ferguson and Keegan back in the days, and you think of Ferguson and Wenger, and you think of Mourinho with various people. There was something kind of refreshingly respectful about the way Klopp and Guardiola conducted themselves in this very pressurised situation. There was a lot of mutual respect, I thought. We don't always get it, actually. It was a bit of a rarity.
Well, yeah, it is in football, Joe, and I think especially in the old days, I wouldn't say Fergie was big pals ever with Wenger or Mourinho or whatever pals among themselves at all. But I think the behaviour of Klopp and Guardiola was excellent. There was no bad feeling there at all. They respected each other for what they were doing and got on with the job. There was no gamesmanship in any way, Joe, and I think they behaved in the way that professional people should behave, and again was good for the game overall.
So, City, with a view to next year, because we talked about them so much this year, and I think people have a good sense of where they are. We were you were talking to various people this week. We were kind of listing out Company. Fernandinho's now 34. David Silva's going on 33. Aguero's turning 31. He's probably okay for a while. They've a little bit, just a touch, a hint of rebuilding to do maybe over the summer, certainly down the spine of that team. Oh, yeah. Well, no matter who they are, Joe, the managers are always, in Guardiola's case, if he has the resources to do, which we believe he has, they'll be always looking to improve the team. If you go back at Liverpool in the great years with Souness and Dalglish and, Lawrenson and all these players, they always, and it was unusual in those days, to get two new players for the next season. Two players that could improve that particular squad. And they didn't carry such big squads in those days, as you know. But they always improved it. And I'd be surprised if Guardiola doesn't go out and improve it. And maybe Klopp will as well. I think, Manchester City definitely have the resources to do it. And he'll recognise the age of the players, Joe. I think that, there's, like nowadays the players are so fit, 31, 32, some players are at their peak at that particular time. Yeah. So, I think he will improve the squad. And I think if they won the European Cup along with that, they'd still be looking to improve it, Joe. That's the way it is. And if you have the resources to do it, then why not? When you look around, are there that many great players around? Because there's so many players looking for our teams, looking for it, whether it be Liverpool, Manchester United, Barcelona, and Real Madrid. There's huge competition now for players because Real Madrid, as we know, Barcelona need it, Manchester United certainly need it. So there's going to be big competition. But I think with Guardiola doing what he's doing and Klopp doing what he's doing, they're more likely to attract the top players now than the other clubs that I've just mentioned. On Guardiola, how I know you had your misgivings about certain aspects of his approach. Not least some of still have, Joe. Do you? Well, I was going to ask, surely, where do you have him if we're talking about, the annals of the great managers over the last 40, 50 years that the game has seen? Where do you have Guardiola? He'd be up there with the best, Joe. Yeah. I mean, you can only look at somebody's record. What have they won?
You know, that's how you judge a manager. I mean, I would have certain. I don't think he. So defensively, Joe, I don't think he really pays as much attention to it as he should. Now, that's only my opinion. But he's winning matches the way he's doing it, you know. But I think there's a balance to it as well. You can still be winning the matches and do certain things defensively. But you know, like you go back again to Liverpool in their day, they conceded very few goals, and they had really top class, Hansen and Lawrenson and all these various players. I think Company, if you look at it, the last couple of weeks, Company has played, I think, in the 3 or last 4 matches on the bounce, which he hasn't done before, because he's without doubt still the best defender. Still the best defender.
And sorry to interrupt, is that like, I mean, Guardiola, for all his brilliance, has still only won 2 Champions Leagues. I mean, well, look, I say only, but he's only won 2 Champions Leagues. You know, you think there's 4 English teams in the 2 European Cup finals, so that is a failure in that respect.
I don't think so, Joe.
Do you not think so? I was going to say, is the fragility down to his defensive issues? Is that the reason?
Well, no, not really. I mean, if you go back to Alex Ferguson and play 25 years, he's on top. He only won the European Cup twice.
It's coming from a different base, though.
Why?
Because English football had been banned for a number of years, and then there was the foreigner rule, and it was a bit of a slow burner through the 90s to get up to 99.
It's different. Did he miss out that much, though?
Yeah, I think it was different in fairness to now. I think English clubs are in a completely different place now to when Ferguson really began the assault on Europe.
Oh, well, I don't. Well, it is what it is at any given time, Joe. If you look at some of the great managers, you know, you take the Champions League for instance this year, right? In Klopp's case, Guardiola's case, Pochettino particularly, how many matches did they lose in that, Joe? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you say it's the top, I don't think it is. If I was a manager or a player, quite honestly, I'd rather win the Premier League than the Champions League. I think it's harder to win because there's a consistency. If you look at Liverpool only lost 1 match all season in the Premiership. They lost 2 or 3 matches in the Champions League. So you're knocked out. If you're not knocked out, like how many matches did Pochettino lose in the Champions League this year? 3 or 4.
A few in the group stage, all right, they were lucky to get through.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't do that. Like, look at the Premiership this year. Liverpool lost 1 match and didn't win it. You know, I don't think it's necessarily... Say, for example, Pochettino wins the Champions League this year, which he could do.
Yeah.
Does that make him a better manager than Guardiola?
No.
So it's I don't see it as being the ultimate thing for the great managers to win the Champions League. Joe.
Okay.
I mean, look at Chelsea there a few years ago. Who was the lad's name that was in charge when they won it? He was sacked after 3 months.
Di Matteo.
Yeah. Does that make him a great manager? You know, I don't agree with the Champions League being the ultimate in management. I think it's a very high thing, but I don't think Guardiola's won it twice, Joe.
Yeah.
Already, I know with Barcelona, right? And look at like what he's done in the Premiership this year. He could win the treble this year. If he wins the cup next week.
Yeah.
So does he have to win the Champions League to prove himself to be a great manager?
No, I wouldn't think so.
I
wouldn't think so. I guess, look, the true marker is in the last 10 seasons that he's been manager, he's won the league 8 times, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's
and the European Cup twice, don't forget.
Yeah, look, we're not going to discount his 2. We'll give him those 2.
I mean, it's great to win the Champions League, you know, and people say, oh, well, you should be doing it, shouldn't be doing it. But, you know, it is a great competition, there's no doubt. But I'm only saying, if you win the Premiership, you're doing it over 38 matches.
Yeah.
38 matches. That's a consistency that you don't get in the Champions League, for example. Because I said with Spurs this season, Pochettino could win the Champions League, having lost 3 or 4 matches in it.
No, it's true. Look, there is that element of knockout football to them. You know, that's just part of it. We talked a lot about Liverpool. It's very difficult to be critical of them in any way. You know, like they with their 97 points, it's the 3rd highest total ever accumulated in a league season. The only 2 ahead of them are City this season and City last season. So, you know, you kind of have to critique them and say, how did they close the gap?
Well, they can only do what they can do, Joe, and they have closed the gap, don't forget. I mean, there were 25 points was it behind Manchester City last season. They're only a point behind them this season.
So how do they make up those 2 points for next year?
Well, it's difficult to know that, Joe. I mean, it's very, very, very difficult to compete against. But they did have losses, draws against Everton and Leicester and somebody else at that particular time. I mean, that's what they've only lost one match. The City have lost more matches, but if they did draw a couple of matches at that particular time, Joe, when they fell behind. You know, they were 7 points in front at one stage, and City beat them, as we know, to get it to 4 points. But I think they drew at home to Leicester. I think they drew at home to Everton.
They got United when things were going well for United as well.
Yeah, you know, that's. I mean, you can't ask too much more a Klopp.
No.
In the job that he's done. You know, he's been absolutely brilliant this year. They could still, next week, as we know, they could still win the Champions League and have had a great season because he's added players to the defence. The goalkeeper, he's got a goalkeeper that he didn't have. You know, he's got Van Dijk in. Robertson is playing brilliantly at left back. So he's improved that team a great deal in the time that he's been there. He's just been a little bit unlucky that Manchester City were slightly better.
Yeah, it's that simple in a way. And before you go, Manchester United bowed out with a fairly lifeless 2-0 defeat to Cardiff at home. Like, geez, what a dreadful way to kind of sign off. Are you a little bit surprised at just how badly and how quickly almost it's gone awry now under Solskjaer?
Yeah, I'd be a bit surprised at it, Joe. I wouldn't have expected him to get the results that he got in coming towards the end of the season. I definitely wouldn't have expected that. I was never in favour, I think you probably know, of Solskjaer taking over when he did take over on the 3-year contract. And I still feel that way, Joe, because what he's saying in the paper recently, he's saying, making the same remarks as Mourinho made.
Yeah.
You know, he's saying the players are not doing this, the players are not doing that, we've got to make changes, he'll be gone. No, this is what Mourinho was saying. And one of the good things about Solskjaer when he came in is that he stopped doing that actually got the best out of the players for a period of time. But
it didn't take him long to almost fall into the same frustrations as Jose, did it?
No, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think he did brilliantly when he came in. I think he was the right man for the job at that particular time, Joe. They did need somebody to do what he did, as they say, put his arm around them. I got a little bit of a laugh, well, a smile last week when I saw in the paper. He was actually saying, we've got to stop looking back. We can't keep looking back. I mean, that's exactly what he was doing when he came, from the time he came in, was looking back. This is what we did in Barcelona. This is the Manchester United, you know, all that carry on. Now he's in a position, you know, again, he has to manage now. He's saying the same things as Mourinho said. You know, the players are not doing this, players not doing that. Again, I wouldn't have given them the 3-year contract at that time, Joe, and I did say it at the time. I would wait until the end of the season, and I'm not so sure now that Manchester United will stick with giving them the 3-year contract.
Really?
Oh, well, again, like I'm looking at things in a certain way. Pochettino made some unbelievable remarks last week, Joe, where he said, you know, I might have a sabbatical, I might go, I might do this unless I get this from the manager, from the chairman. You know, for somebody that's in a position in the Champions League final, to be making the comments that he made last week, I found strange, to say the least.
It was strange, all right. Even in the press conference, a few journalists said, "Hang on, are you saying what we think you're saying here?" It would be. It'd be a really tough decision and probably unfair to turn around to Solskjaer before he has a full season and say, look, we need to end this early. But like...
That's what you have to do, Joe.
Right.
You know, pay him off. Like, pay him, you know, but for example, if they are going for Pochettino, it's going to cost them about 40 million. And it's going to give Solskjaer, if they give Solskjaer 3 to 5 million, it's going to cost them 45 million, for example. That's pittance, Joe.
Yeah.
In relation to having a successful Manchester United, in relation to a non-successful Manchester United. And if I were the boss at Manchester United, that's what I would do.
You would still be saying we should try and get Pochettino. There's a chance here. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And be kind to Solskjaer It's a difficult. It would be a difficult situation, and a lot of people would think it was unfair.
Well,
you don't do fair or unfair. Joe.
Yeah, there would be a bit of a cost though with almost humiliating the club legend, though.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I mean,
you don't think the fans would think, this isn't right?
Well, I'd say if you ask the majority of fans now, this is only my take on it, would they go for Pochettino instead of Solskjaer?
Yes, 100%.
Well, that's what you have to do. You know, the fans will only go. I mean, the fans' loyalty will only last for so long. If Manchester United started badly next year, for example, they turn on Solskjaer. If they haven't already turned on him a little bit, of course he had his time at Manchester and he was very popular in that. But those days have gone. And I think from the bosses at Manchester United, when you're in that position, you've got to do what you believe is best for the club. And that's what I said. Like with Solskjaer, the only thing you could do with the lad, and I know this sounds cruel, is to pay him.
Yeah,
pay him for doing what he's done, and then go for what you think is best for the club.
Yeah, look, I mean, you could well be right because, you know, when Ferguson went and people drew the parallels with what happened to Liverpool in the 90s after all their success, and people were saying, you know, you've got to be careful here because you can easily have a decade or two of almost kind of being away from the top table. And I honestly thought the problem with that parallel was the money. The money is so different now. Manchester United would have so much money, they would be able to insulate themselves and they would recover far more quickly than Liverpool did back in the 90s when things started to go wrong. And yet here we are, and you're looking at them, and they look a really, really long way away from challenging. So maybe you just have to go out and get Pochettino and be ruthless, because they're starting to kind of flirt with, you know what, a decade in the wilderness here.
Well, or longer. Who knows? Who knows? Don't forget, Liverpool haven't won the league for, was 29 years.
29, yeah.
You know, the times go by so quickly. It's already 5 years since Fergie has gone. So, and the way things go at Liverpool and Manchester City, you don't see anything for Manchester United in the foreseeable future. So it's big decisions to make, Joe, and there's a lot of sentiment in it. Now, I don't mean to be cruel or sound cruel to be Solskjaer. It is what it is. If you're running a club like Manchester United, you can't say, well, he's been a good player, he's a good lad, which he has been, and he's done a good job what needed to be done. But if you're talking about a 3-year contract now, I would say, look, Mr. Solskjaer, like we can't do it. We'll pay you up and give him a good settlement, and you have to do what's best for the club.
Yeah.
And I'm only giving you my opinion of what I think is best for Manchester United for what it's worth. I would go for Pochettino now and pay Solskjaer off rather than stay with and the money that's concerned in it, with 45 million in getting a successful manager in, that's peanuts, Joe.
Yeah.
Peanuts.
Listen, brilliant stuff. Before we let you put your feet up for the summer, I would say we'll be in touch around the Champions League final for a chat then.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Certainly, Joe.
All right, John. Pleasure as always.
Talk to you, Joe.
Thanks
Speak
a million.
See you later. Thanks
Bye-bye.
again.
Bye.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Future Proof.
You're taking a stroll on your honeymoon with your new husband on a remote tropical island. When who do you bump into? But your first serious boyfriend. What are the chances? You know, that's a question we ask ourselves all the time, but we never get an answer. On this week's Future Proof, you will, as we look at the mathematics of your amazing coincidence stories. Chances are you won't want to miss it. The probability of the improbable, this Saturday on Future Proof.
Future Proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
This Saturday from 12.
On News Talk.
As the dog of the house, I know exactly